Hi, everybody. Monday in all its glory and blueness. Have you ever felt like locking your door, switching off your phone, parking your car blocks away, or even just cutting the crap or running away for a day and not telling anyone where you are or what you're doing? Hopefully, you'll be doing absolutely nothing anyway. I had such a day. But you know what? I'm just the type of old hag who will allow everyone to keep pushing until I do pack my bag and disappear for a week, two, or even a month or two, only telling one of my daughters where I am so that they don't call the police and report me missing. Anyway, hopefully the week will improve, seeing that it started like this. You all know who Peter is by now, as I introduced him to you through his song. Well, Peter told me that he was talking to someone who was of the opinion that the media is being unfair to Harry and Meghan, and particularly Meghan. Peter, however, is in our camp and feels that Meghan is a narcissist who cannot be allowed to run roughshod over everyone else. Yet, after our short discussion, I had a thorough, deep thinking session. And finally, to make absolutely sure that I'm being fair and correct, I went to the Code of Conduct set out in 1936 for British and Irish journalism. So I challenge you all today to go down this road with me and be as honest as you can in answering these rules and questions with me. So, okay, let's go. A journalist, one, at all times, upholds and defends the principle of media freedom, the right of freedom of expression, and the right of the public to be informed. Well, I think as far as this is concerned, journalists are certainly trying to uphold and defend the principle, even if and when it comes to Harry and Meghan. But it is particularly difficult to do when it comes to them because Harry and Meghan are making it difficult, constantly suing mainstream media, constantly interfering, constantly lying. We know that Meghan called the CEO of ITV, which finally resulted in Piers Morgan losing his job. Whether he walked away or was fired is absolutely besides the point. We saw the same with Jeremy Clarkson and others. Well, people like Piers Morgan and Jeremy Clarkson are already well known moneymakers for any channel, any newspaper outlet, etc., in which they may have a column. They are older and already have other avenues of earning income. So it is easier for them to stand by their principles and wave goodbye to their job. But what if you are a young journalist, single or with a young family, or even still paying back a study loan? Harry and Meghan, or even the entities like the Aspen Institute, of which Harry is supposedly such a valued member, have no right to interfere with the right of freedom of expression. As a matter of fact, in most civilized countries, it is a law, as it is part of the Constitution of the United States of America. But then we get to the right of the public to be informed. Well, that is not such an easy one, because what do we have the right to be informed of or the right to be informed about? Do we need to or have the right to be informed of every cold, every sniffle, every bout of diarrhea Harry or Meghan may have? No, certainly not. Do we have the need or the right to know what they have for supper every night, or which TV programs they watch, or what time they go to bed, or what time they get up? No, we don't. But do we have the need and the right to know whether their children were born of the body? Yes, we do. because those children's future is directly linked to the future of the British monarchy due to their titles and position in the line of succession. Anything they do or are involved in which will affect the monarchy or Britain or the United States or the British realm or the Commonwealth is indeed our business, which one of the 16 bathrooms Meghan uses today is not our business. And to be brutally honest, the press and sometimes social media, including myself, have pushed the envelope a little far from time to time. And that is exactly why I have stopped arguing about things like whether it was or it wasn't Meghan at the 4th of July parade. In situations like that, I apply Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is often the truth, and then I forget about it. Because what if it wasn't Meghan? I mean, so what if it wasn't her? What difference would it make to my life if it was or it wasn't? Absolutely none. So why waste your time and breath? 2. Strives to ensure that information disseminated is honestly conveyed, accurate, and fair. Well, this is almost a logical and should be normal practice. But how often does it happen these days? Not very often, because of reasons some already mentioned, like reporting in a way that your editor or your reading public or audience wants you to, instead of reporting on the truth. These days, everyone has an agenda. Gone are the days where one outlet was a little more right wing, perhaps, and the other one was a little more left wing. Now we have that, and we supposedly have 96 genders, and the earth is going to turn into a ball of fire tomorrow. And if it isn't the journalist, him or herself, who insists on pushing their agenda via their articles or reports, then they are forced to do so by their editors. As for accuracy and fairness, it is sad but true that controversy and drama sells. So it is also true that journalists strive for the more salacious and more dramatic than purely what is newsworthy or then true. However, in the case of Harry and Meghan, they are as guilty of spreading inaccurate information as anyone else, if not more. For instance, Meghan did not have a gun against her head when she told Oprah they were married 3 days before they were married. A journalist, no matter how honest, can only convey what was told to him or to her. Number 3, does his or her utmost to correct harmful inaccuracies. Well, I mean, who wouldn't? In the case of a journalist who is not intimately linked or related to his or her subject, have absolutely nothing to lose by correcting a mistake or an inaccuracy. Instead, by doing so, he or her will just gain respect and be trusted more. And the more they are trusted, the more opportunities they will get to report on bigger and bigger stories. Unfortunately, if they are being fed lies and inaccuracies, there is little they can do or even apologize for. Number 4, differentiate between fact and opinion. Yes, anyone should be able to share their opinion, including journalists and reporters, but they have to be fair and neutral when reporting on any incident, and therefore their opinion should be limited to a very tiny portion of an article or program. That is, unless the entire article or entire program is not really about the subject, but about this reporter or individual's opinion. Anyway, using Piers Morgan as an example again, it is or was his opinion that Meghan Markle is an opportunist and social climber, and he backed it up with evidence of her totally ghosting him after she met Harry. So, Piers Morgan had a right to his opinion. I can't think now, but I think the guy's surname is Simmons, the guy, one of the CEOs of Spotify, called Megan a grifter and lazy. And his opinion was backed up with the fact that she produced 14, 12 plus 2 podcast episodes in over 2 years. I mean, there are 365 days in a year, 730 days in 2 years. Yet all she could come up with were 14 episodes. Simmons had a reason for his opinion. But if I am to write an article about what a bad cook Meghan Markle is today, it will be neither fact nor fiction, nor will it even be my true opinion, because I have never set foot in their home, let alone saw her prepare a meal and then ate it, and I likely never will. So, in short, an article can consist out of someone's opinion for as long as it is based on fact. Otherwise, it is complete fiction and should be sold as such and does not belong anywhere where stories are sold as newsworthy and facts. Number 5, obtains material by honest, straightforward, and open means, with the exception of investigations that are both overwhelmingly in the public interest and which involve evidence that cannot be obtained by straightforward means. Now, this is interesting, folks, don't you think? Because, in a way, it is in direct contrast to everyone's right to privacy, and considering that even law enforcement has to obtain a warrant to obtain evidence which cannot be obtained by straightforward means, it is honestly beyond me as to how a media outlet should be allowed to do so without transparency or warning or a court order. The public interest part is equally interesting because what I may think is of public interest may not be what you may think is of public interest. That is basically what Harry and others' court case was about. So, in principle, I agree and understand their issues with the media. But of course, to bring action on evidence 10, 20, 30 years old using false narratives, embellishments, and feelings to prove your case is, however, not acceptable or ethical. Number 6, does nothing to intrude into anybody's private life, grief, or distress unless justified by overriding consideration of the public interest. Now, the Queen's death and funeral was obviously of overwhelming public interest, and regardless of what you think or may feel about the British royal family, I think it was the hardest and almost unfair thing to have the cameras on the royal family all the time during the funeral service. Queen or not, she was the mother of Charles, Andrew, Anne, and Edward. Although I absolutely agreed with all the coverage the weekdays preceding her funeral, and even of the service itself, I found it terribly sad and intrusive of the media to show the family members in their grief. Beatrice hiding behind a hymn sheet so the cameras don't pick up on her crying. Prince Edward unable to stop himself from crying. Sophie's red-rimmed eyes. Not right in my opinion, and not of public interest, and almost disrespectful to the Queen, who did what she could all her life to protect her children. However, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, yes, they were coincidentally in the country when the Queen passed, but in my opinion, they acted and reacted worse than any media outlet, and they did so in the media, in the public domain, and in the most horrific, disrespectful way, and not only to the family, but the entire realm and commonwealth. I cannot, to this day, understand how Harry could possibly have allowed for the Netflix series to go out less than 3 months after the Queen, his grandmother's death. She was not only Queen and grandmother, but she also helped raise him. Lead by example springs to mind. And for Harry and Meghan to use the media, social media, and streaming services to further their own dark motives and agendas, regardless of their family and a large portion of this planet's loss, is even more disgusting than anything ever done to them. So, is it any wonder when it is indeed done to them? I know one should not fight fire with fire, but if you open the door to BS and intrusion, then expect BS and intrusion. You cannot leave your door open in the middle of a jungle filled with wild animals and not expect to find one in your kitchen ever. It doesn't work that way. Okay, guys, so that was my rant for the day. But we'll continue with the journalism code of conduct, numbers 7 to 12, tomorrow. And then maybe we could have a vote on whether we think the press and social media has treated Harry and Meghan unfairly. So until then, please take good care of yourselves until we meet again on the next one. Bye.